At the start of March, both J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs predicted gold would soon hit $3,000 per ounce. By the middle of March, it had happened. Now Goldman just predicted gold will hit $3,700 by the end of this year and $4,000 by mid-2026. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Call 888-753-1647.
This is Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, her life, her impact, and her enduring legend. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis remains a treasured and iconic figure in 20th century American culture and history. Her intelligence, grace, and strength in the face of adversity have cemented her place as a beloved and influential First Lady.
Jacqueline Kennedy had a subtle but enormous impact on American politics and culture. And she did it in a way that was meant to have an impact with very little trace of any fingerprints. She ended up becoming involved in policy now and then, almost always when it involved some element of human rights, education, health, but particularly education. And she came to power with her husband in the sweet spot of American history, in the post-war era, when the United States was really the envy of the world. And at her heart, Jackie was a patriot.
Jackie O's life story, marked by both triumph and tragedy, exemplifies the enduring spirit of a woman who captivated the hearts of millions and left an indelible impact on the world. She was the most photographed woman in the world, yet no one truly knew her.
Which would you like to shake hands with if you had a chance?
Oh, Jackie, she's the best.
Why is that?
Well, I think she's a beautiful woman.
I think history will remember her, just like they remember Cleopatra. Yes, Cleopatra was beautiful, but Cleopatra was one smart chick, and so was Jackie.
Jackie's story is a journey of love, loss, and an unwavering commitment to excellence that continues to inspire.
Mrs. Kennedy was looking at me and thinking, my children are going to grow up in this environment. Here is somebody who has been doing it since she was born and somehow has survived.
She was the queen without a throne, the woman who captivated the world with her whisper, but kept her secrets buried beneath layers of Chanel and sorrow. Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, first a princess of American royalty, then a widow draped in blood, and finally an enigma wrapped in power, wealth, and whispered scandals. With one bullet, she transformed from the most envied woman in the world to its most tragic widow. During one of America's darkest hours, Jackie made it her mission to ensure that her husband's legacy would endure. But was she simply a grieving wife? Or did she wield a power greater than any First Lady before or after? Behind the poise, the pillbox hats, and the breathy, delicate voice lay a woman of steel. A woman who understood that survival wasn't just about endurance, but about reinvention. When Washington betrayed her, she turned to Wall Street. When America mourned her, she vanished into the arms of one of the world's richest men. Was it love, or was it power at its most intoxicating? From the glittering halls of the White House to the private islands of Greek tycoons, Jackie Kennedy Onassis played the long game. And she played to win.
She wore wonderful clothes. She spoke languages. She had tremendous grace and brilliance in presenting herself. I think she was really what Sinatra called her, America's queen.
This is the life of an American treasure and the immense impact on fashion, culture, and history she left.
She was just really an absolute American and yet a citizen of the world. And what she consciously sought to do was to elevate global respect for the United States by showing a sensitivity and awareness of the very different cultures of the countries she was visiting.
Jackie O was the true essence of a woman who became not just a symbol of an era, but a legend in her own right.
GIA Diamonds, lowest prices ever. The Jewelry Exchange has natural 1-carat GIAs just $19.90. Custom mounts are just $4.99. Carat 50, $29.90. 2-carat, $59.90. Thousands of diamonds guaranteed the lowest price. The Jewelry Exchange.
Consumer Cellular, ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction.
Hi, my friend Linda has you guys and gets way better coverage than I do.
Sounds like Linda has you beat.
Only in coverage.
And plans start at $20.
Okay, price too.
Call or visit Consumer Cellular to switch today.
This is a story about the one. The untrained eye may not see the one as extraordinary, but her goals aren't easy. She fixes, she manages, she perfects. She is extraordinary. Because for the one, maintaining this space transports her to this space. The industrial grade product you need plus 1 million more. Call, click Grainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Claire, and we're at Malibu Apothecary, our fragrance studio. I love capturing storytelling, feelings, and emotions through scent. We're a fragrance company, but we also have a lot of technology that we use. Spectrum is really the backbone of any of the business we do here. From our customers who come in, we check them in online. We do all payments online. I have team members that are out of this country. Being able to connect with them is really important because we can all connect together and be on the same page. Spectrum's been really great for me because it's cost effective. Having a reliable, fast internet service that can fit my budget is really great. I traded a 9 to 5 for a 5 to 9. It's a lot of work, but I love it.
Fast, reliable internet, starting at $40 a month, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep your business connected.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us, we're different. We report the real news, no spin, just the facts. Turn to us and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
Welcome back to Jackie O, A Remarkable Life.
What was it about Jackie, do you think, that just sort of set her apart? Everybody seemed to just sort of look at Jackie as the one.
There was nobody like Jackie. Nobody talked like Jackie. Nobody looked like Jackie. Nobody acted like Jackie. And nobody understood better her place in the world than Jackie.
America in 1929 saw the introduction of the first car radio, the inaugural Academy Awards, the stock market crash, and the birth of Martin Luther King Jr. 1929 was also a year of dramatic transitions, setting the stage for one of the most challenging periods in U.S. history. The era was marked by gangsters, the Great Depression, women's suffrage, prohibition, and expansion of the Cold War. In that same year, Jacqueline Lee Bouvier was born on July 28th on Long Island in Southampton, New York. Her father, John Verneau Bouvier III, was a wealthy stockbroker whose family immigrated from France in the early 1800s. Her mother, Janet Lee Bouvier, was a socialite and accomplished equestrian who played a significant role in Jackie's life. She was just a year old when her mother first put Jackie on a horse, and by age 11, she had already won several national riding championships.
Jackie was from one of the richest Catholic families in America at that time. She was a debutante and attended private schools, really an American aristocrat.
After kindergarten, Jackie attended elementary classes at Miss Chapin's school in Manhattan. She was described by one of her teachers as the prettiest little girl, very clever, artistic, and full of the devil.
Her father was really doing well financially, and her mother came from a very wealthy family as well. And so Jackie had elements of a very privileged, wealthy lifestyle. It was not too soon into her childhood that the effects of the Great Depression hit her father's income, and there was a lot of acrimony between her parents.
Jackie had a younger sister, born Caroline Lee Bouvier, who loved her older sister but often found it difficult to live up to Jackie's many accomplishments. Born to dazzle, they were among the most famous sisters in the world. But all was not well in the Bouvier household.
They were running out of money, to be honest. They were not able to afford the lifestyle that they had been living. And so it led to a lot of fights between her parents. And Jackie was often caught in the middle of those fights and used later on, once the parents were separated and divorced, as a pawn between them.
Despite these troubled times, Jackie had many privileges and opportunities in life. Naturally quiet and shy, she focused on classical ballet lessons, studying history, photography, and learning French. Jackie spent her junior year studying abroad in Paris. The young debutante said it was the best year of her life, being away from home, experiencing European culture and languages. Jackie landed her first job in the fall of 1951 as the inquiring camera girl for the Washington Times-Herald newspaper.
She had a rather dim view of marriage. She felt very strongly, even as a young woman, she should not marry before she had somehow established herself.
She interviewed prominent figures like Richard Nixon, Truman Capote, Dwight Eisenhower, and a young congressman from Massachusetts named John F. Kennedy. An undeniable chemistry developed early on between them as Jackie continued her career in journalism, including a trip to England to cover the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. In early 1952, Jackie was briefly engaged to John Husted, a stockbroker like her father. Finding him dull and unambitious, she ended the engagement and began dating JFK. Their relationship grew strong, bonded by their love for literature, history, and politics. Initially, Jackie was hesitant about marrying Kennedy due to his reputation as a playboy.
As Jackie processed the news, she felt it was an inevitable masculine flaw, saying, "Well, that's what men do."
But after winning his Senate seat, JFK became more serious about her, and she agreed. On September 12, 1953, the couple married in a grand ceremony at St. Mary's Church in Newport, Rhode Island. With 800 guests, including many diplomats, politicians, and socialites, it was truly an event for the ages.
Parents of the groom are among the personalities on hand to make this the top society wedding of the year. For the spectators outside the church, it's a real storybook wedding. A radiant bride, the former Jacqueline Bouvier, and a handsome groom. With a pretty wife and a politically rising star, the future seems bright for the junior senator from Massachusetts.
Kennedys were married last month. Let's go and meet the newlyweds.
Are you there, Senator?
Yes, right here, Mr. Morrow.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mrs. Kennedy.
Good evening.
I understand that the two of you had a very much publicized courtship. How did the two of you meet?
We met at the house of a friend about 2 years ago.
And you used to be a reporter, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you first met the senator when you interviewed him.
Well, I interviewed him shortly after I met him.
Well, now, which requires the most diplomacy, to interview senators or to be married to one?
Well,
being married to one, I guess.
Early on in their marriage, JFK suffered from crippling back pain from football and wartime injuries. As a result, he underwent 2 operations to alleviate the pain.
Kennedy was very sick, apparently, before he died. And he had severe back pains. During much of his presidency, they would put him on amphetamines to keep him active. They didn't think about the consequences of those things back then. I don't think they truly understood addiction back then. I don't think they truly understood the way it affects your decision-making process.
While Jack was recovering from the surgeries, Jackie suggested that he write the book Profiles in Courage, which discusses several U.S. senators who risked their careers to advocate for their beliefs. The book would go on to earn John F. Kennedy a Pulitzer Prize for biography in 1957 and elevate the young senator into the national limelight. It would be the first of many contributions Jackie would make to advance JFK's career. She used her connections with Washington's elite and high society to foster relationships beneficial to his campaign. The efforts paid off as JFK won re-election, setting the stage for a much bigger prize, the presidency of the United States.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. If you call right now, your gift's impact will be doubled to help save lives. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
If you call right now, your gift's impact will be doubled to help save lives.
1 in 3 U.S. consumers have been a victim of identity theft, even when they did all the right things to protect their personal information.
I thought we did enough to keep a nightmare like this from happening. I felt so secure, but it wasn't enough.
Banks, hospitals, employers, and many government agencies all have your personal information too. And when they're exposed, careful monitoring of your accounts and credit won't be enough.
I change my passwords all the time.
I shred my documents. I thought I was bulletproof, honestly.
The information thieves need to steal your identity is already in the hands of others, and it only takes one vulnerability in one place to put your identity at risk.
Yeah, it's scary when you think about how easily this kind of stuff occurs.
Let me make this very, very clear. You could do nothing wrong. Be perfect about all of your security and still be a victim of identity theft.
Tens of thousands of my hard-earned money gone.
The stakes are high, and even if you take steps to protect your personal information, you're not the only one who has it. LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats others could miss, far beyond what you could possibly monitor on your own. Like someone trying to use your social security number to open a loan, purchase a home in your name, or even take over your investment accounts.
Someone was trying to take an account out in my name. I got an alert from LifeLock. Well, I pressed the no button. That wasn't me. It was handled and taken care of.
And if you become a victim, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed. All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds.
There was a letter from LifeLock with a check for over $81,000. They made me whole.
All plans include identity theft restoration, guaranteed, or your money back. Call 800-710-4645. Or visit lifelock.com/TV35 to save 35% on your first year. Call 800-710-4645. Call now.
You're watching Jackie O, A Remarkable Life.
Tonight seems to be at long last the beginning of what for so long has really been just a hope or a dream. I know there still is an enormous amount of work to be done before Mr. Stone's beautiful building rises beside the Potomac. But I hope that by this spring, ground will be broken and they will start to build a wall at the center. For that will be a reward to all who have worked so hard for tonight, and it will be an encouragement to all of us who must keep on working until the center truly exists. I would now like to introduce Mrs. Eisenhower. We've served together as honorary co-chairman of the National Cultural Center, and no one cares more about its completion than she does.
As John F. Kennedy's reputation and popularity expanded across the nation, Jackie Kennedy's sense of style and her ability to connect with women voters, particularly young mothers with families, were essential to JFK's success. After JFK recovered from back surgery and returned to the Senate in late 1955, Jackie suffered a miscarriage. The experience had a profound impact on her and shaped much of her outlook on life and family. The following year brought additional sorrow as Jackie gave birth to a stillborn daughter named Arabella. Despite the emotional toll, the couple did not give up, and on November 27, 1957, they welcomed a healthy baby girl into the world, Caroline Bouvier Kennedy. Baby Caroline was the toast of the town, and as a young child, captured the hearts of the public with her innocence and charm, just like Mom. Although now juggling a family and career, as the wife of a prominent senator, Jackie became more involved in public appearances and social events in Washington, D.C.
When they saw each other in Florida over Christmas vacation, he had just come back from a world trip where he went to Vietnam. And he then asked her to undertake a huge assignment for him, which was to read several French language books on the military history of France in Vietnam, look at budgets, look at treaties, and she then translated all of it and synthesized it into a 80-page report for him, which then became the basis of his first major foreign policy speech, which also attracted national attention, and the very first rumblings that this guy could be president someday.
Her dynamic presence on the campaign trail earned Jackie widespread admiration, as Americans increasingly came to view them as the epitome of the all-American family. With Jackie by his side, JFK won his re-election to the Senate in a landslide. By 1958, Jackie was becoming a fashion icon, often featured in magazines like Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. Her beauty, elegance, and refined taste captivated the public and press alike. By the end of 1959, the Kennedys were well on their way to becoming one of America's most admired couples. They symbolized a new generation of leadership and style. On January 2, 1960, Senator John F. Kennedy announced his candidacy for President of the United States. Jackie often accompanied him crisscrossing the country, doing interviews, shaking hands, and turning heads. During the busy and demanding campaign, Jackie learned she was pregnant again, and doctors advised her to remain at home.
Now, my wife and I prepare for a new administration and for a new baby. Thank you.
From there, she responded to hundreds of campaign letters, recorded TV commercials, and wrote a widely distributed weekly newspaper column titled Campaign Wife. This gave her an air of mystery, which only increased public intrigue and admiration. Political historians agree. Jackie Kennedy's active involvement and public presence played a vital role in the campaign's success.
As morning comes to the cities of the eastern states, the newspapers headline Senator Kennedy's election to the presidency. Yet at this hour, the popular vote is so close that it appears he will win by a plurality of less than 1%.
In a very close election, on November 8, 1960, John F. Kennedy defeated Republican Richard M. Nixon to become the 35th President of the United States. 2.5 weeks later, Mrs. Kennedy gave birth to their second child, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Jr. Unlike many presidents and first ladies who came before them, America saw the new first couple as youthful and dynamic, contributing to the Camelot image that became associated with their time in the White House. However, the excitement and joy which Jackie, John F. Kennedy, and their new family enjoyed would not last. Welcome back to Jackie O, A Remarkable Life.
Do you have any vacation plans when he comes home?
Yes, we plan to take his vacation here until Congress goes into session. We hope to take it in our own house.
Is your baby due before Inauguration Day?
When's Inauguration Day?
On January 20th, 1961, at age 31, Jackie Kennedy became First Lady when John F. Kennedy was inaugurated as the 35th President of the United States. Despite sub-freezing temperatures, nearly 1 million people gathered to witness the inauguration.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Jackie's elegance and style were on full display during the event.
She changed his wardrobe. She helped him slow down his speeches. She really worked on his public image. The one consistency in the marriage of Jack and Jackie Kennedy in both private and public is her rather traditional devotion as a wife to her husband.
In the days following the ceremony, Mrs. Kennedy's influence increased substantially.
Dolly Madison managed to save it.
The first time many Americans heard that distinctive voice was during her 1962 tour of the White House, showcasing its restoration.
It's by Lanouillet.
56 million people watched. Jackie Kennedy may not have considered her role political, but she was a huge political asset at home and overseas.
She planned elegant state occasions, transforming the White House into a showcase for cultural and intellectual achievement. Authors, scientists, artists, musicians, and actors mingled with politicians, diplomats, and statesmen at these events. Despite her public obligations, her foremost priorities, however, remained with her family. The new First Lady soon set about making the White House into a real home for them. She turned the sun porch on the third floor of the White House into a kindergarten school for Caroline and a dozen other children. A swimming pool, a swing set, and a treehouse were set up on the White House lawn for Caroline and John Jr. to play with their friends. Caroline also had a pony named Macaroni on the White House grounds for riding practice. Jackie once expressed to a reporter, "If you bungle raising your children, I don't think whatever else you do well matters very much." Jackie spearheaded the historic preservation of the White House, ensuring it became a symbol of American history and culture.
She did this tour of the White House on television. It was one of these things that absolutely riveted the country because it was, people all wanted to see the inside of the White House. We're all voyeurs. We all want to see how other people live. But it was a sensation because people who would never, ever be invited to the White House themselves could feel as though they were part of it.
Her influence, however, extended far beyond fashion and renovation. She accompanied President Kennedy on state visits and often acted as a cultural ambassador. Her ability to speak several foreign languages brought her goodwill and admiration around the world. When visiting France, Jackie Kennedy, who spoke fluent French and had studied French culture, became the star of the visit. French President de Gaulle, not typically warm or emotional, seemed visibly impressed, causing JFK to famously remark,
I do not think it altogether inappropriate to introduce myself to this audience. I am the man who accompanied Jacqueline Kennedy to Paris, and I've enjoyed it.
But there was more sorrow on the horizon for Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy.
They lost a child to an infant lung ailment. It really crushed her because part of what brought their joint personal life together was a mutual love of children.
Yet no one could have foreseen an even more devastating tragedy was on the horizon, just 3 months later in Dallas.
Something has happened in the motorcade route. Stand by, please.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting. From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
The motorcade begins the 11-mile ride to the Dallas Trade Mart, where the president is to deliver a major address. Governor and Mrs. Connally ride in the presidential limousine.
November 22nd, 1963. While riding in an open-top motorcade through Dealey Plaza, shots were fired at the presidential limousine. and history was changed forever. President John F. Kennedy was struck by 2 bullets, including a fatal shot to the head. Jackie Kennedy cradled her dying husband as the car sped to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where the president was pronounced dead.
Vice President Lyndon Johnson has left the hospital in Dallas, but we do not know to where he has proceeded. Presumably, he will be taking the oath of office shortly and become the 36th President of the United States.
We got onto Air Force One, and Mrs. Kennedy sat near the casket in the rear compartment. We thought we were going to take off right away for Washington. But we found out that the Vice President had been conferring with people in Washington, and the decision had been made that he needed to be sworn in while we were still on the ground there in Dallas.
For an hour, Air Force One remains at Love Field, waiting for a judge who can swear in the new president. While Kennedy's widow keeps watch over his coffin.
Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States aboard Air Force One, with Jackie Kennedy standing beside him, still in her blood-stained clothing.
26 people cram into the room to witness the oath.
Johnson was already in the room. It was only about a 10 by 10 room, a very small compartment. And he turned to his secretary and he said, "Would you ask Mrs. Kennedy if she would like to stand with us?" We were just stunned to see her. She didn't say anything. She just stood there. I saw the blood that had hit her skirt. The stockings were the things that struck me most. The stockings were, the blood had congealed.
Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine with alleged pro-communist sympathies, was arrested later that day and charged with the assassination. At the age of 34, Jackie Kennedy was now a widow and was subsequently tasked with planning the president's state funeral. She drew inspiration from Abraham Lincoln's funeral in 1865, wanting to create a solemn, dignified ceremony that reflected both JFK's legacy and the gravity of the moment. Jackie led the funeral procession from the White House to St. Matthew's Cathedral, walking alongside JFK's brothers, Robert and Edward Kennedy. As it was broadcast around the world, millions of people shared her grief and admired her courage and dignity. Jackie was praised globally for her composure and grace as she guided her 2 young children, Caroline and John Jr., through the tragedy. The iconic moment came when John Jr., on his 3rd birthday, saluted his father's casket, a heart-wrenching image that became a symbol of national mourning. Following the funeral mass, JFK was buried in Arlington National Cemetery beneath an eternal flame, a concept Jackie personally chose. She began the work of creating the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum as a memorial to her husband, which now stands as a landmark overlooking Boston Harbor. She found solace in her close friendship with brother-in-law Robert Kennedy, who was also campaigning for president.
My thanks to all of you, and now on to Chicago and let's win.
After delivering a victory speech in Los Angeles, celebrating his win in the California primary, Robert Kennedy was shot multiple times by Sirhan Sirhan, a 24-year-old Palestinian with grievances over Kennedy's support for Israel. His death devastated the Kennedy family and the nation, cutting short hopes of a political revival after JFK's assassination in 1963. Jackie is said to have voiced her concern, stating, "If they're killing Kennedys, then my children are targets." Following JFK's death, Aristotle Onassis, the Greek shipping magnate, became a comforting presence in Jackie's life, though their relationship did not become romantic until later. Over the next few years, he continued to provide both emotional and financial support to the family and provide sanctuary for her and the children.
She had been seeing Aristotle Onassis at this time. So in the spring of 1968, she went to visit Onassis and he proposed to her. And she was taking it seriously, but she hadn't committed to that. And part of the reason she didn't commit was because she feared the impact it would have on Bobby Kennedy's presidential campaign.
Their bond eventually deepened, leading to marriage in 1968, as Onassis offered her a form of refuge from the public scrutiny that had haunted her since JFK's death. Their relationship, however, was controversial and widely criticized, especially in the U.S., where many felt Jackie had tarnished the memory of JFK by marrying Onassis. Sadly for Jackie, her marriage to Onassis was not ideal. They lived a life of luxury, frequently traveling on his yacht and between homes in Greece, Paris, and New York. But despite her hopes for peace, the marriage faced numerous challenges, including tension with his daughter Christina and Aristotle's lingering involvement with opera star Maria Callas. In 1973, Onassis's son Alexander died in a plane crash, a tragedy that led to a decline in his health. Onassis died in 1975, leaving Jackie as a widow once again. After the death of Onassis, Jackie adjusted her life to focus on her children and returned to a quieter and more stable life in New York. But trouble would follow her. Jackie had always viewed New York City as a refuge where she could raise her children with more privacy.
If anybody were seated next to even a stranger on a bus and suddenly they were murdered in the way he was, a person would be traumatized for the rest of their life. Now, this was her husband. There were still a lot of emotional issues that were being resolved between them, and it was filmed forever. The world could witness this gruesome act. So yes, she was traumatized by it. She was traumatized permanently by it. Of course she recovered. Of course she went on to laugh. Of course she went on to have good times. But you know, when I interviewed a colleague of hers at the publishing company, they said, you know, as funny and tough as she could be and as humorous, there was always still a certain fragility to her.
The next chapter is a really interesting one for Jackie. She ends up becoming an editor in New York City, and many people say this is the happiest period of her life. She's seen her children grow up. This is the thing that Jackie said was always the thing that mattered the most to her.
But Jackie was more than just a mother. In the heart of Manhattan, she found a new identity as a book editor. Starting at Viking Press and later moving to Doubleday, she quietly built a respected career in publishing. Her work brought her fulfillment and a renewed sense of purpose. Jackie earned respect within the publishing world for her work ethic and keen editorial instincts. Over the years, Jackie enjoyed a quieter life, surrounded by friends, family, and the vibrant cultural life of New York. She became an iconic yet elusive figure, In New York City, she led a campaign to save and renovate Grand Central Station. Today, more than 500,000 people pass through each day and enjoy its restored beauty thanks to her efforts. What truly defined Jackie's greatness was her unwavering commitment to preserving JFK's vision for a better future. Her strength in adversity and devotion to her family and her late husband's memory cemented her place as an enduring icon of grace and courage.
Well, I tell you why you do love it. Granted, the exhaustion was there, but you're with your husband in the major endeavor you share. And then when you look back on it, you've seen so much of the country, all the people you've met. It's just made you a person that you weren't before.
In 1993, Jackie was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Despite her battle with the disease, she remained strong, spending her final months at her beloved apartment overlooking Central Park. On May 19, 1994, at the age of 64, Jackie passed away, surrounded by her children and loved ones. Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis was laid to rest beside President Kennedy in Arlington National Cemetery outside Washington, D.C. With a deep sense of devotion to her family and country, Jackie dedicated herself to making the world a better place through art, literature, and a respect for history and public service.
Jackie Kennedy should be remembered for her mind. We might think of her style, but all of that style was an outgrowth of her substance.
In death, as in life, Jackie left behind a legacy of strength, resilience, and grace. A woman who, despite unimaginable loss, continued to shape her own story and inspire a world that never stopped watching. Thank you for watching this presentation of Jackie O, A Remarkable Life.